And good evening and welcome to Anderson Motor Speedway in Anderson, South Carolina for tonight's Hooters Cup Winn-Dixie 100. And again, we are at Anderson Motor Speedway. My name's Roby Helm. Buddy Parrott along with Doug Rice will be calling the action for you. And tonight's program is brought to you by Red Dog Beer. Bold yet smooth, unusually easy to drink. You are your own dog. And by Nikon sunglasses, binoculars, and scopes. Leadership you can see. Also tonight we have a 35-lap Legends car race, and that is rolling now on the Speedway. And Doug Rice, you're very familiar with these cars running over at Charlotte Motor Speedway, and it's great to have them here with the Hooters Cup late models, which we'll be seeing a little bit later on this evening.
Thanks a lot, Roby. And certainly the Legend cars literally are running all over the country now. Over 1,000 of these cars have been produced by 600 Racing up in Charlotte, North Carolina, but they regularly run at Charlotte Motor Speedway on Tuesday night on the flat track quarter mile there tonight. This track is faster. This is a 3/8 mile speedway, but it is flashy fast with these bank turns. And Buddy Parrott's with us tonight. Of course, famous Winston Cup crew chief who's taking a little vacation time and a busman's holiday. When you get a day off, you go to the races. And Buddy, we were watching these cars in practice. They really scoot around this racetrack.
Well, they really do. You know, we were timing the cars, and they were running about 17 and a half seconds, and the late model cars are running about 15 seconds. So the guys told me, said, you know, if they put us some slicks on these things, we could really put on a show. But I think they're running fast enough. They're nice little cars, and it's a good proving ground. It's a good place for guys to start, and looking for a good race tonight, and I'm excited about being here.
Buddy, they're pretty much run on a street tire, don't they?
Yeah, that's true. They are. I think it's Comptier radial. Excuse me. And you can't shave the tires, meaning they can't cut the rubber off. But I did see some tires down there that looked like they were pretty worn. So maybe that'll be the ticket. The guys that has the tires that's worn out will be the cars that'll run the best.
Doug Rice, what kind of power plants are we looking at underneath the hood of these miniature? I think they're a lot 5/8 scale race
5/8 scale replicas of late 30s and early 40s modifieds, actually. And all of them run a 1200cc Yamaha motorcycle engine that's set opposite of how it would actually set in a motorcycle. They get these straight from Japan, uncrate them, and bolt them in here. The idea of behind Legends cars was really twofold. It was to produce an affordable race car and also to produce a race car that was fairly stock, that when you brought it to the track there was a minimal amount of adjustments that you could make to it. All of it was based on cost containment. They wanted to keep the cost of racing affordable.
And understand this is a fast-growing class. I've heard numbers that 4,000 of these race cars have been sold.
Well, they've produced over 1,000. They've got lots of other orders up at 600 Racing for these cars. On the pole tonight, one of the outstanding Legends Cars racers, John Craig. Keith Martin is on the outside of row one. Wesley Thompson and Brian Sockwell, Tony Hamby, and Steve Mendenhall, who is quite a racer. He's driven about everything with four wheels on it. And then Red Paris and G.E. Chapman. G.E. is one of the strongest runners from Charlotte. We really have a combination. There's two regions racing here tonight. The Charlotte region Legends cars, guys that regularly compete at Charlotte, Concord Motor Speedway, and the Dixie region, which competes all over South Carolina and Georgia, based out of Atlanta Motor Speedway.
Well, Doug, I am looking forward to this race. These guys always put on a great show. Why don't you go ahead and set the lineup for us?
All right, look, the cars that you're looking at here, the 21 is Keith Martin, the 1C is John Craig. Behind those, the 4U, the blue car, is Brian Sockwell. The 05 is Wesley Thompson. And row number 3 is going to be Tony Hamby and Steve Mendenhall. Then it's Red Paris, G.E. Chapman, Tim Bolton, and Jeff Craig. Bobby DeCola, he's driving a Legends car that looks like a taxi. It'll stick out here in a moment. Gary Comer in car number 69. Then it's Tim Stokes, Roland Herbstedt, Robert Spence, Ronnie Milford, Nick Metcalf, Johnny Finger, Nolan Roland Crutchfield, Lynn Goff, Will Ragsdale, Sam McCullough, James Hine, Rick Hughes, and Chuck Orr. 28 cars are going to start here tonight, and this is 35 laps. And they can pass on this track. We will see a lot of passing, and I think we might even see some 3 and 4 wide on the backstretch. You can see by this shot here, they got a lot of racing room back there, buddy.
Yeah, that's true. I tell you one thing. I want to say something about this guy, Jeff Craig. He and his dad and I went to school together at Myers Park in Charlotte, and he just had a motorcycle accident, and the guy's out there. He's got pins in his leg and screws and everything, but he's a racer, and he's out there tonight, and let's just hope he doesn't get hurt and has a good race tonight.
Jeff Craig crashed a motorcycle about 9 months ago coming off the Blue Ridge Parkway. He wound up going into a guardrail. He had 11 separate surgeries. He spent 6 weeks in the hospital, and he only wanted to get back so he could drive a race car. He is far from 100%. He's still a little gimpy, and he's limping around a little bit. But the guy is, that says something about, that's the kind of competitor you'd want in your car, isn't it, buddy?
Well, that's true. I had a driver in '94 that broke his wrist, and he had a steel pin in his leg, in his arm, and he went to the next race. We went to Sonoma and missed a shift out there, and caused him, wrapped the motor and lost an engine. But Rusty was in the car, and he tried his best. And like you said, it proves that these guys really love it, and as much as I do. That's why I'm down here tonight talking about it. I love it, and I'm glad to be here.
We're tickled to have you.
I think we're just about ready to go racing. I think they've given him the 2-to-go signal. So who are the guys to watch? Car numbers and names, who are we going to be watching tonight?
The front row here, Keith Martin in the multicolored 21 is a very, very tough competitor. John Craig, Jeff's brother, in the 1C, he'll be real tough. Going back to row number 3, if our camera can swing back there in a second and pick up the 18 of Steve Mendenhall, an easy way to associate that car. It looks just like Bobby Labonte's Winston Cup car as it goes through the picture right there. The bright green and black of the 18. That car will also be real tough. And then right behind him, starting in the 2, is going to be Tim Bolton. Tim Bolton's also a real tough competitor. Those are some of the real hot shoes. And Brian Sockwell in the blue 4U machine. Brian blew up his good car last night. Brian is a serious Legends car driver. He has a primary and a secondary car.
And the drivers have just been given the 1-to-go signal. A guy that I'm going to be watching that looked fast in practice was Bobby DeCola in the 49 car. It's one of the 2 taxi cab cars in the race. He has come and run at my home track, 411 Motor Speedway in Knoxville, Tennessee, and he has been quick there. You can see the cars coming down the back straightaway here at the 3/8 mile Anderson Motor Speedway. The field now beginning to bunch up as they get set to come down and take the green flag from starter Dick Westfall. And here's Doug Rice to call the action with the Legends cars.
See the field wheel out of turn number 4. We got a green flag and we got a clean start.
And that 21 car going into the lead from the outside of row number 1. And boy, they are shuffling for position.
Keith Martin got the good jump there. And John Craig dives down to the inside, and we see him waving off. So we got caution here very early on. I think you saw that very quick that there was a problem, that a lot of drivers had their hands up in the air. Looks like we might have had a problem and an incident right on the inside of the front stretch.
Right.
And we've got Darrell Jackson in the 65 there pinned up against the wall, but you can see Darrell unbuckling, and he looks like he's okay. And the 37 machine is also caught up in there.
Looks like he might have it. Well, I see the front wheels turning now. He was turning the steering wheel. I thought that we might have a problem there with a broken tie rod, but it looks like the damage is pretty tough there on the front of both of those cars. We have another car involved behind them against the wall. So we're going to have a replay coming up here shortly, so we will be able to see what happened there on the front straightaway right at the start.
I think that was Coy Gibbs in that third car. Randy Thornton was in the middle car. And it was Darrell Jackson from High Point, North Carolina. Here we see the accident.
Looked like the 47 car, one of the taxi cab cars, getting in. We've got the 1 car backwards here, the 26 car, 47 car now spinning to the inside. And I'm sure that everybody behind them is hard on the brakes trying to avoid those 2 cars spinning down the middle of the front straightaway.
Tell you, a couple of cars real lucky that they didn't get a lot more damage. Darrell Jackson, he caught a lot of it. Now, these cars are fiberglass bodies. They're molded bodies, and that's one of the real good points about the Legends cars, Buddy, is the fact that that front fender that you saw crumpled up there, they can go back in, pop rivet that back on, cost maybe $15, and the car cosmetically looks as good as they did when they rolled it in here.